Welcome to the DeFi Standard, and this is Mickey B Fresh. And today I have Lars with me, who was on the call yesterday with the SEC versus Ripple case. And I just want to give a disclaimer before we get going, is that this is not financial advice. We did not record the hearing, but Lars was on the call with the 500 or so other community members listening to this case. So, Lars, what was your biggest takeaway from listening to the hearing yesterday?
Well, sometimes you hear the bearable bull and DAI saying that everyone else is playing checkers and Ripple is playing chess. And I just completely got that opinion yesterday. And it's a little bit ironic that this lawsuit and the way I'm seeing things play out is giving me increased confidence in being a holder of XRP instead of less. So for me, it was just an overall feeling of how solid this XRP, or not XRP, but this Ripple team is in defending itself.
It is, and it did seem like the SEC was flailing a little, as one of the attorneys at Ripple said, and how they were now backtracking on what they were saying about SEC, about Ethereum and BTC not being a securities. They said they never said that. So now one thing that's interesting that could come out of this, and we'll go into it further, is that it's possible that when this is all said and done, XRP will be the one with the true clarity by law, and Bitcoin and Ethereum are still question marks. So that's one thing I thought that was interesting that could come out of this. But let's dive into some of the actual details that was in the hearing yesterday.
All
So,
right. So, Mickey, you had this Patreon group, and I was on that because we were having it's a Telegram group, and we were getting on the call, and then as I got on, it said you are number like 237, and then every time someone came on, it just went beep 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 beep, like it was like beep beep beep. People kept getting on, and then we maxed out at 500. I wonder how many people actually tried to get on this call. But anyway, since a lot of us couldn't, I just started scribbling down notes on the Telegram, and that's what we have to go through here. So it's nothing official. The lawyer did warn no recording, not the lawyer, but the judge. And at halftime, they took a little break, and she said, we have detected that people are recording, and we will be going after them as a criminal action. So we didn't do any recording. We took these notes. But she did say that every word is being taken down by the transcriber and will be released. So we'll all be able to see the complete transcript at some point. And for myself, I've never been very interested in legal stuff. And I'm reading everything and watching everything I can on this. Like I said, it's like we've got a star team up there in Ripple making the case for our XRP investment.
now, what were one of the things that came out of this case from the discovery? So now what is it that Ripple is going to be able to get a hold of from the SEC and those documents that the judge pretty much allowed now Ripple to get? What are these documents or
So,
communications?
right. So the SEC has asked Ripple for documents from 30 custodians or 30 entities, and Ripple asked for 19. And the SEC came back and said, we're only going to give to you from 9 of them because we think those are relevant. And the judge said, no, all 19, you can request documents from all of them. And some of the ones the SEC didn't want to give were from the SEC highest leadership because they said, we don't think that they were talking about XRP or Ripple. So again, this kind of flailing thing that the SEC just didn't look very good. And in the other things I've listened to, they haven't come off really great. But what the judge granted was the documents that Ripple has requested, minus the only minus is like staffer to staffer conversation. She said you can't have that because that would the SEC's claim is that would interfere with our work. So she
Mm-hmm.
said, I agree with that. You can't have that. But if there's staffer to leadership
Mm-hmm.
information, that may be relevant and that can be requested. But the main thing is the information that's coming from inside of the SEC to third parties, to outside.
Mm-hmm.
And so the example we already know about is the conversations that Coinbase has had trying to determine if XRP was a security. So that stuff can all be disclosed now. And she said her conclusion, I think that's a good place to go to.
Mm-hmm.
She said it's relevant to objective review.
Mm-hmm.
It's relevant to the aiding and abetting charge against Garlinghouse and Larson.
Mm-hmm.
And it's relevant to the fair notice argument that Ripple is making. So she stated those things.
So that's very supportive of their claims of Ripple's defense of fair notice, that she's agreeing with allowing those documents and communications to be released. It looks like that she's going to allow the fair notice defense, which is, I think, good for Ripple and good for the XRP holders, that she's seeing it in this way. And getting those communications, I think, is going to be really important to see what actually was said. And it seems like Ripple kind of has an idea of what was said with Coinbase, but now we're going to get the actual communications of what the SEC said. Because if you remember, Coinbase did not want to list XRP throughout 2017 and all of 2018. It wasn't until early 2019 that Coinbase listed XRP on their platform. And that was supposedly right at the start of this investigation, or in the beginning at least. And I think that's really telling that they felt comfortable enough to do it then. So what was said to them that made them feel that way? So that's something else interesting here.
Right. I agree. And a thing that strikes me is we know that Ripple was being investigated for 30 months before this was filed. And it's a brilliant legal team they have, and you got to figure they had lots of information already. I can't imagine that they didn't already know about this Coinbase information. I can't imagine that they didn't already know that Hinman, who gave that BTC and ETH speech back in was it 2018 or whatever the year was, he gave that speech. I can't imagine that Ripple didn't already know that he was receiving, over $1 million a year in pensions from the company he used to work with that was on the Ethereum Alliance. So I think they must already have had a ton of information. And now, this is just, it feels to me like this is going to be the slam dunk information here for them.
Yeah, it sure does look like the SEC is really flailing. And I mean, like you were saying earlier, before we recorded this, we were talking and saying that Ripple's legal team has been building this case for the last couple of years in defense. And now they have the former SEC chairman and enforcement prosecutor on their defense. And also these other attorneys, 23 attorneys. So they have this really powerful legal team, and you have nobody left at the SEC. Both co-directors of the enforcement division left. Jay Clayton left. So a lot of these people that were behind this case just dropped it on the desk and then left. So you just have really this prosecuting team, and that's really it. So it's really, they are going up against a huge force in the Ripple's team. So I think we're looking good here going in. And as Brad Garlinghouse said, it was a good day. Were there any other points in there that you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, so I've gone through kind of what I wrote down a couple times, and each time I went through it just felt stronger. But one of the major, I think it's good to kind of like step back and like one of the major pieces between what the SEC is arguing, what Ripple is arguing, is that Ripple, the SEC, Bliss was saying Ripple was a central promoter, and only the offer matters, not the context. So the point of the SEC is only what they actually did matters. The context of it doesn't matter. And when Kellogg comes up for Ripple, their lawyer, he starts with, so that's what the SEC started with. Ripple was a central promoter. Only the offer matters, not the context. What Kellogg starts with is Howie is 70 years old. We need current info. We need context. The SEC is using other coins to compare. Ripple needs this information to do the same. We need the context. And Bliss for the SEC was saying, the SEC internal conversations did not affect the public view. They do not matter. Only what Ripple did as a central promoter matters. So I think that's the crux of the difference. And the judge just clearly came down on, the context matters. You have the right when you've been charged with recklessness, when you've been charged with taking actions that go against Howard, to have the documents and get the context, get the understanding, get the field of information to present that to us. And every time, it's only a couple times, right, that we've had these hearings, but each time it seems like the judge has been very understanding and favorable of Ripple's position and asking really pointed, directed questions to the lawyer. And one of those was that the SEC lawyer was saying Bitcoin and Ethereum mining is different. Ripple offered and sold an ongoing offering of tokens. Bitcoin and Ether didn't have a central promoter like Ripple was. And then the judge comes back and says, hey, she says, if I agree that Bitcoin and Ethereum are different, am I not already deciding the case? So it was like, yeah, let's get the information out. If I agree with that statement right there, that's the case, isn't it? So that was amazing. Now, a little bit about how Ethereum started. That's a question of mine.
Yes. So they had a fundraiser, and Digital Asset Investors played this on his channel, and I've seen the videos of Vitalik Buterin getting up there and saying he's fundraising for Ethereum. And now this was prior to the network going live, that they were raising funds. Even though Ethereum has mining, they were selling Ethereum before it went live. So they did raise funds, and they did have an ICO. So I don't know where that attorney from the SEC is saying there was no ICO. There was clearly an ICO, and there's videos of it. It's Ripple who didn't have the ICO. So there's obviously something here. I'm not sure if the SEC lawyer is not fully in the loop or understanding what went on with Ethereum early days, but there's clearly videos of them having a fundraiser, and he says, we're raising funds. So there's really no doubt that they already had an ICO, and it's pretty clear. And that's what led to all the other ICOs taking place off of Ethereum. So that was the springboard for all the other ICOs. So, to say they didn't have an ICO, it seems like this SEC lawyer just doesn't have all the information and is clued up in the way that the Ripple attorneys are. They're just more knowledgeable on the whole industry and what has taken place historically.
So another thing that the SEC, they got 5 minutes to respond at the end, and they started, and then Kellogg and then the lawyer for Larson spoke, and the lawyer for Garlinghouse spoke. They all spoke, and then the Bliss for the SEC got 5 minutes back, and he said again that Ripple was a central party promoting XRP, but he said Ripple didn't have any utility, I didn't write down the year, until a certain year, and never has had more than 1.6% utility. So that I just wrote that down. What's your thought on that?
Well, he's arguing one component here. He's saying that the ODL usage, that what Ripple was using it for in ODL, was only 1%, but he's clearly ignoring all the other utility that people have been using the ledger for. And now Ripple's not going to argue that right there. But this guy at the SEC is just, he seems really clueless, honestly, because to say something like that, when Deaton goes up in there and he argues, he's going to be like, well, what's all this transaction volume on the XRP ledger? What is all this trading volume on the XRP ledger? What is all this payment volume? It's not even Ripple, and it's been going on for 8 years. So that guy's going to really may look like a fool because he clearly just doesn't, he's standing by his guns and just saying, oh, well, there's 1%. And what I think that is just them saying, well, ODL usage. But that's just one use case by one entity. There's been plenty of other utility in many other ways. And what's the utility then for Bitcoin then? I mean, that means it has zero. There's many different types of utility. That's just one example of one product that they're trying to get going.
Okay.
So that's what that is.
So
the
Yeah,
cross-border
thanks.
payments using XRP as ODL, meaning using it as a liquidity source in their RippleNet payment system.
So I think that maybe that word that the Ripple team chose, that the SEC is flailing, was
Yes,
quite accurately chosen.
it
And
was.
Kellogg made the point. So again, the lawyer for Ripple said the internal docs will likely reveal that no market participant could have figured out that XRP was a security. So I think that's a pretty core statement right there. And then another thing just to mention that, against Garlinghouse and Larson is the charge of aiding and abetting. And we've already heard by, Hogan that was probably a bad choice to do that, because it
Yes.
really raises the bar. And now they have to prove recklessness. And so Solomon, the lawyer for Garlinghouse, says, if you're accusing us of recklessness, we need the documents to show that we weren't reckless. And then he said, it is game over if we can show that Garlinghouse and Larson were not reckless. So, that's all they have to show.
Yeah, so it seems like that the SEC raised the bar on themselves by going after Garlinghouse and Larson as individuals. They kind of went over the top here, and they went over the top trying to claim XRP as a security now, which obviously it's not and can be easily proven. They left themselves open to Deaton with that, and now going after Garlinghouse and Larson, they open themselves up to all these documents now that Ripple is going to get access to. So by doing those two things, thinking, oh, we'll throw everything at them, they really kind of backfired. I mean, I think that's the word. This backfired in their face, because now look at all these documents they're able to obtain, which could be a game over just in itself. And now we still leave Deaton open because they're calling it a security now. So they want to do that. Now they're going to have to face it head on, and they're not going to be able to duck out of the way and ignore the questions. Now they have to deal with it. And Deaton's his letter goes in, I believe, April 16th, and then they get a chance to respond. If they do not drop that XRP is not a security now, then May 6th, Deaton gets to go up there and speak. And now you have the retail holders of XRP being represented by Deaton, who's just going to blast the SEC to basically nothing, who they're supposedly defending. So they have a tough road ahead of them, the SEC, and I think it's looking better and better for Ripple and the XRP owners every day. And yesterday was kind of a turning of the tide, I think even more so. What do you think of that? Do you think this case is turning, Lars?
Yeah, I do. When I first heard about the lawsuit back in the beginning, I was concerned. It was like, oh, that's a big deal if the Ripple gets sued. I wasn't super worried, but concerned. And then everything I've read through since then, I've read all of the documents, I've listened to everything I could. It just gives me more and more confidence that Ripple has really got this nailed down, and they know way more than we have a sense of, I think, and they just bring it out at the perfect times, and it feels really solid. I'm really glad, even more glad, that I have my XRP, and that Ripple is the company it is. And I know you're doing a ton of work on Flare, and that Flare is using XRP as a utility fork. This information just came out about Tranglo and how big that is. You just did a video on that.
Yeah, that's a big
I'm
one.
feeling very, very, very thankful to be a part of this whole thing.
Yeah, it's getting exciting, and I'm thankful to be a part of it too. But I really think that if XRP, the irony here would be that if XRP gets the clarity out of this, it will be law. So there's no, oh, it could be a security in the future. And the fact that the SEC backtracked on saying Ethereum and Bitcoin, well, we didn't say they were not securities. So now there's a question mark in front of those, and there'll be no question mark in front of XRP. So what that means is that when institutions and corporations are looking at the crypto asset market and they're going down the list, they're like, wait, that's the only asset that has clarity now. That's a game changer in the future. So when this ends, XRP getting clarity, it literally flips everything upside down. Now it's like, well, XRP has the clarity and Bitcoin, Ethereum are question marks. even though it's a pretty good chance they're not securities, but you don't know 100% for sure. You know 100% for sure that XRP is not a security when this is all said and done. And I think that's going to be game-changing. I think it's game-changing to what can be done with XRP in the future, and with institutions, corporations, and other entities using the digital asset and the protocol and on-ledger activity. So I think that's big going forward. So what comes out of this actually is going to be the best thing for us in the long run.
I agree. I mean, when PayPal came out and said we're going to list Bitcoin, Ether, and Litecoin, or whatever the coins were, and they didn't list XRP, it was like, well, we don't have clarity. You know, maybe it's because XRP is not deemed yet not a security. And so just like you're saying, once this is cleared up, XRP may be in huge demand for its utility.
I really think it is. All right, I think we're going to wrap it up there. Was there any last words that you wanted to say, Lars?
Just thanks, Mickey. You're doing amazing stuff. I mean, the Ripple team makes me feel confident, but the work you're doing, digging stuff up and sharing it, really makes me thankful as well. So I'm very, very thankful for the work you're doing. Thanks a bunch.
You. And also check out, Lars did a whole series on the intro to DeFi and intro to crypto. So please check those videos out too. They're on here on the channel in the playlist descriptions. You could see those. So those are excellent in between of entry-level content that I think will help some of you who sometimes some of the content I put out is a little over your head and it sounds like it's a lot. So listen to some of those videos from Lars, and I think they'll help you better understand how you could get an understanding of this space and of the content that's coming out of this channel. All right, I'm Mickey B. Fresh.
I'm Lars.
And we're out.